Good evening, YouTubers and Facebookers. It's 6 p.m. And as I promised on Facebook, on YouTube, anybody that will listen to me, I promised that I would be here at 6 p.m. night after night to keep you comforted, to keep you company, to keep you engaged in the universe around you, even when all the events that were unfolding around you seemed to be designed to alienate you, to isolate you, to make you a mere speck of dirt. Man, in reality, we are really nothing really much more than a random particle in the universe that happens to have been also assigned a brain, a kidney, a heart, and some other essential things so that you could function at some level, much like other mammals. And thus were you given stewardship of this planet that I have been taught to refer to as Earth. Hi, Sean and Kathy. So I, for one, acknowledge that I am merely a random particle in the universe comprised of various atoms and molecules and carbon and oxygen and Lord knows what else. I didn't pass any science classes in grade school or high school. Not my thing. Reading. I did well in reading comprehension. I did well in social studies and history. Science, no. I sucked at it. But this I know, that the odds of me appearing in this world, on this planet, in this universe, at this particular moment, and then surviving 68 years of random chaos and organized chaos, organized by my mind, which should have guided me to a premature demise, I might say. No, but yay, no, I am here. Here it is, 6:02 p.m. It is July 16th. It is 2021. And if you don't think that I appear to you by, how should we say, a miracle, because man, oh man, I sure in the hell did everything I could to screw this up. Yeah, I did. But I'm here, and I want to start out this particular podcast. If you're out there, I want to start with a song that will get me once again in trouble with Facebook and YouTube. But I can't help myself. It's not like they're going to kill me. It's not like they're going to arrest me. It's not like they're going to find me. They're merely going to block me. But I'm watching these events unfold, political events where people are being deprived of the opportunity to vote without the encumbrance of doing it at between 2 a.m. and 5 a.m. Once every Thursday, 4 years. It's ridiculous. Doesn't matter. I'm here to play this song for you. Not because I would have picked it for a revolution, but apparently it has been chosen by some of the political activists who are seeking to get our voting rights reinstated across the country. And so nobody sings better in some regards than Odetta. And Odetta is her full name, as far as I know. I've never been introduced to any other name. I'm probably going to get in trouble. It's funny. I'm sure Odetta has never made enough money for the gift of her voice, but I'll bet you somebody's going to capitalize on what I'm about to do. So take a moment. I don't play all of anything because it's time consumption. Algorithms being what they are, they'll block me too quickly. So I'm gonna let it shine. There's a little light of mine.
I'm gonna let it shine. There's a little light of mine. I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Yes, there's a little light of mine. I'm gonna let it shine, shine. There's a little light of mine. I'm gonna let it shine. There's a little light of mine. I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. May we know that together. There's a little light of mine. I'm gonna let it shine. Mama, there's a little light of mine. I'm gonna let it shine. There's a little light of mine. I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
So, and don't let me mislead you, by the way. My saying I wouldn't pick it for this particular battle, Odetta was in the forefront of providing music for the civil rights movement, which which getting the vote is part of. So she was always magnificent. I wonder, I never really looked to see how she's doing, if she's even. Let's see, she passed away in 2008, but she was just one of really a handful of really phenomenal people who participated in the civil rights movement. And when we talk about lend your voice to the civil rights movement, she literally lent her voice to the civil rights movement, much as Joan Baez and others did. So I just wanted to lead off because you know what? If you're not aware, they're confiscating your vote as we speak. Texas is in the vanguard with Georgia and several other states and ripping you off. If by you I mean a liberal, a Democrat, or a progressive, a person of color, because what they're doing is, well, it's complicated. There's plenty of things on the internet can explain to you what's going on. You don't need me. I'll be happy to explain legal things because I'm a lawyer and I'm happy to do that for you if you ask me questions. But this whole struggle to push back the repression and suppression of voters' rights that's going on right now, it's so ominous. It's so evil because state after state is actually passing laws, first off, to make it more difficult to vote. Okay, we might be able to rise up and overcome that. But what they're also doing is they are taking away the potential in Republican states to declare a Democrat the winner of various elections, up to and including the presidential election. So what they're doing is they're empowering the legislature to cast electoral votes in contrast, opposition to the popular vote. So even if we were, for instance, through the grace of something, we were to win a Democratic presidential election in Texas, what they're setting in motion and concretizing now is they could simply say, we're not going to certify this. We are going to usurp the Secretary of State, who's typically the person who monitors and safeguards the election. And they'll be able to say in Arizona, in Florida, in Georgia, in Tennessee, in Texas, they're going to swing the votes in opposition to the popular vote so that they can elect a Republican in 2024. So you should be alarmed. Even if you're Republican, you should be alarmed. But if you're kind of an extraordinarily right-wing Republican, I don't suppose you're alarmed because you're like, hey, yo, they fixing it for me. I don't mind when somebody kind of helps me out when I need a hand. I'm not averse to somebody tipping the scale a little bit when I'm looking for a job. Like when I lived in Chicago, a lot of times you couldn't get a job if you didn't have a sponsor. So let's say 3 people applied for the same job with the city sanitation bureau, right? Well, if you really wanted that job, it was helpful to have somebody put their finger on the scale, your alderman or your committeemen. There were 3, 4 people, or the mayor, who, if they said you needed to be given that job, that just, you were in. So it's not like I've never tried that. It never worked, by the way, for me. I'd be happy to tell you about the time I tried to bribe Alderman Verdoliak to get into the police department. He took my money, didn't do anything. I have many times which I tried to put my finger on the scale unsuccessfully. But this is different. And the magnitude of this, the consequences of this, the anticipated outcome of this are far greater than Ken working for the sanitation department in the city of Chicago, or anybody else who may be chosen to work in the sanitation department or the legal department. I could have applied to be a city lawyer. I would still have needed a sponsor. I still would typically have needed an alderman or a committeeman. Those are the 2 most powerful positions locally. Or, of course, always, if the mayor wants you, you're in. So that's why I played Odetta. Now let me tell you about the rest of the music I've chosen for tonight, which again, as usual, has nothing to do with anything I intend to talk about. This was, since I'm a random particle, man, I picked some random freaking music. Okay. Do you hear the people sing? I wanted to hear this. I had to go. The movie kept popping up with what's his name, the Wolverine, and the guy who got real fat, played in the Gladiator, Crow, and I didn't want that. First off, Crow can't sing. I didn't enjoy that part of the movie. The other guy can sing, but I wanted a Broadway version because them people can sing. So I had to find it, and I found an anniversary special with 17 Jean Valjeans singing together. Do You Hear the People Sing? Wonderful song. The entire musical was wonderful. My daughters and I must have listened to the music a million times. Liza Minnelli, I came across this while I was just randomly looking. And apparently Vince Edwards, who played Dr. Ben Casey, and he had other roles. I've seen him in a variety of roles. I've seen him mostly in dramas. Never saw him in a comedy. And I don't remember his variety show, but apparently he had a variety show. And Liza Minnelli, at a very young age, appeared on it, and they danced together. And I was just amazed. And I said, I gotta introduce you. I got to expose you to Liza Minnelli and Vince Edwards doing a duet, and then Hand Jive. I liked the song Hand Jive, and so I found it. I didn't know it was part of a movie that came out in 1959 called Rock and Roll Dance. Now, in 1959, I was 7 years old, so I probably heard the music but didn't realize where it came from, or I actually saw the movie and I didn't remember. Doesn't matter. It's a groovy tune. And then I came across Hello Mudda, Hello Fada. Here I Am at Camp Granada. And, that was a hit in its time. It's a weird little song sung by Alan Sherman. And it'll be nostalgic for some of you and a weird delight for the rest of you. The lyrics are just, he's hitting on all 8 cylinders, as we used to say. What? Stop. I'm not kidding. Stop fighting. Cats. Cats. I don't know if they're listening. I might have to throw one of my drumsticks at one of my cats. Rachel's folks had that record. Hi, Becky and Chris. Yeah, listen, everybody doesn't set their clock by Ken's podcast. Speaking of Chris and Becky, Chris tried to kill me today, and so it's nice of him to show up. Anyways, I had a bad idea, and Chris encouraged it. The bad idea I had was to ride my non-electric bike. Now, I've been reluctant to do that because in order to meet Chris, typically I'd have to go 10 miles just to get to where he starts, right? So I'm like, I got a plan today. Check it out. It's a bad plan, but it was my plan. I'm going to drive my bicycle to approximately where Chris rides. I'll meet him. We'll ride together. Non-electric. My bike is not too unlike his bike. And, after I had confessed to him that if he does 30 miles, I'm going to do 40 because I feel bad that I rode electric and I want to, try to put out more energy, right? Burn more calories. So we met, took our little bicycles out, and off we go. Torturous, challenging, it would be the nice thing to say about this ride. But, Chris was accommodating. He kept slowing down. How he's slowing down? Let me explain how this works. When a decent bike, road bike, is coasting, you're not pedaling, it makes a noise. Okay? So I'm pedaling, listening to Chris coast. So he's coasting, and I'm like, I'm working here. I don't understand. How come he's coasting, and for me to keep up with him, I'm having to pedal my brains out? Now, I always pedal hard. And by hard, I mean I use a high cadence. It's the proper way to ride. Anyways, so we did that, and then I realized, hey, it's Friday. Something good may come out of this yet, besides my death. Let's go get a hamburger, a good hamburger at this place that's only open to bicyclists on Friday. That's not accurate. They're only open to the public early on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I don't ride down there Saturday, Sunday. The rest of the week, they don't open until 3 or 5 or something, But on Friday, they open 11 and they make good burgers. So it's like, yo. So, Chris, he's always down for good lunch, right? So we get there. And as is often the case, Chris eats his main course. And as often the case, doesn't finish his sides. And they gave us these homemade chips, like potato chips, right? They make them there, they claim, right? I knew what was coming. I knew that son of a bitch was not going to finish his potato chips. And I knew I would sit there looking at his potato chips and go, man, what a waste, right? So I nailed my chips. And then I tried to nail his chips. Even I gave up. So, and I cut my burger in half with the intention of taking half home because I really wasn't that hungry. I didn't need this. I didn't need the second half of the burger, right? So I cut it in half with the intention of asking the young man, please bag it, tag it, give it back to me. So Chris, boom, 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 knocks down the whole burger. I've eaten half a burger. I'm looking at his empty plate with the chips on it. So what do? I eat my burger and the whole thing. I didn't bring anything home. I had nothing to eat for dinner. It would have been an excellent dinner. So now, but that's not, I'm not telling you about the place because it's good food or bad food. Chris says it was delicious. That's irrelevant. Here's the thing. When you're riding a bicycle and you eat a heavy lunch or dinner, whatever, in the midst of your ride, Now you might as well just put lead weights in your stomach and go, okay, I'm ready to ride some more. So I'm sitting there going, now what is the quickest way back to my car so I can get off this bike? I'm sick of it. We'd already gone 25 miles. I now have a lead weight in my stomach. I've got my chips and his chips. I've been drinking water like somehow I haven't been exposed to water for 24 hours. So we get back on the bikes, and of course, I know that one of the remedies for a full stomach is, burn some of it off. And so off we go around this lake with, for me, the sole purpose is to burn some of this 10-pound burger that's in my stomach. Okay? It's nauseating. Trust me, it's nauseating. Don't try that at home, kids. So, anyways, Chris says he got home, showered, and passed out. Okay, I got home and passed out. I was too tired to shower. So I'm not feeling bad for Chris. By the way, so here, there was an advantage to suffering. No, there was going to be an advantage to suffering. Let me tell you all, this random particle in the universe talking to you. If I had remembered to wear my heart rate monitor that I wear all the time when I'm biking, I could have looked and seen some value in today's ride, because I would have seen an accelerated heart rate, beats per minute, which means you're burning more calories, which means you're getting more aerobic benefit. But because I threw my bike in the van instead of pulling out of the garage like I usually do, just driving up, I didn't have my heart rate monitor, and I wasn't anywhere near home. So I did this whole thing without the benefit of metrics. Metrics to certain bicyclists, like Tour de France leaders and Ken, is a way of measuring your caloric output, because you're burning energy, that's calories, right? And then I could have felt good about myself at the end and gone, oh, look, I managed to get my heart rate up into my aerobic zone, and thus I've done this really good thing. But instead, 30 miles, 35 miles, whatever it was, when I got back to the van, all I had was tired, thirsty, and a drive home. Okay? So I didn't mean to go there. I want to talk more about being a random particle in the universe. Are any of us any more than a random particle? And if we are, what? So how could we not be random? If you think about the creation of a entity, a mammal, but in particular, a human mammal, that may be redundant, how could we think of ourselves as anything other than very random? There is something not completely random about us, and that is that when a mother and a father got together, they did pass on some DNA, some genes, and that influenced the way we look. It influenced our health, whether, longevity, whether we're going to keep our hair later than some, that kind of thing. But still in all, if you think about this copulation that results in this existence, there was so much randomness to that, from these two people meeting, them having sex, and then all the stuff that goes along with having sex that results in childbirth. Today, it would be even more random than when I was born. When I was born, the odds are my parents weren't practicing birth control, is my guess. I'd have been surprised. Today, most modern parents, if they're not Baptist, are probably practicing some form of birth control, which means it's even more random, because sometimes it means that the use of contraceptives didn't work. There was a failure. So many of us were unanticipated, which I think equals random. What day of the week does the spermatozoa greet the egg, right? Chris says, I'm not sure what rides you were on. Good food, good fellowship, and a pleasant ride around the lake. Good times. Well, I was on that ride, but I suffered. I suffered for the good times. I guess that's part of what makes it a good time. I probably would have felt like um, if I had seen you suffer more, Chris, it probably would have helped me to think, oh, we're all in this together. But you just didn't seem to be suffering. You were coasting a lot. It's the Catholics that don't use birth control. Baptists can. Um, well, thank you, Becky. So Becky has illuminated me on the issue of birth control. The problem is, I don't even remember what I said a moment ago because I was speaking contemporaneously, just spontaneously, and I know I said something about birth control and Baptist. Um, well, here's what I meant. Okay, now I remember. I meant that people are using birth control frequently, and the birth control fails whoever they are. And Catholics really set themselves up to fail because I understand they're supposed to withdraw. That's their form of birth control. We all know that's a sucky method of birth control. So if you're on YouTube and you're wondering, what the hell's going on? I got this notice, Ken Goldberg's Law and Disorders on the air. So I'm tuning in and I'm wondering, he's been rambling now for 26 minutes. What the is this? Well, what it is I'm communicating with people on Facebook simultaneously. So whether you think I make sense or not on YouTube, do be advised that I'm not talking to myself when I'm calling out Chris or Becky or Rachel or Rose or somebody like that. I'm not making up people. I'm talking to people on Facebook who are tuning in. So you're welcome to check that out after the podcast if you wish. All right. Chris says sometimes you have to suffer if you want to sing the blues. Isn't that enlightening? So back to being a particle, a random particle. I absolutely, I've always kind of thought of myself as a random particle in the universe, but I didn't go around calling myself a random particle in the universe until tonight. Tonight, it just occurred to me, with all that's going on, with all I see unfolding, how random it is. Listen, there's no excuse for me to be in Texas. When you evaluate how people make certain decisions about comfort, about community, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? You think that, well, if you are a raging liberal, then you might seek a liberal state or community. That's not how I got to Dallas. I got to Dallas because I was on my way, and most of you don't know this, I was actually on my way to Tucson, Arizona. I'd made a commitment to myself that I wanted to live in Tucson, Arizona. I made that decision about 1987 when I was getting my law license in Illinois. So, because I visited there and I thought, oh, it's very pretty here. So, jump ahead to 1994. And I'm getting ready to get married to Lori. And, I moved. I didn't move. I went to Tucson for 3 months and took what's called the Barbary class. Barbary, I don't know why it's called that, but anyways, it's a bar preparation. Most people want to be a lawyer after law school will take a Barbary class. Okay, take my word for it. It's like the Kaplans, right? So I went down there to prepare for the bar because we were going to move there. In fact, I even made an offer on a house. And then suddenly, Lori got this very good offer to come to Dallas, go to Dallas, come to Dallas, doesn't matter, by Pinnacle Sports Trading Card Company. Because Lori's an extraordinary PR person, and she was in the sports trading car industry. And the company she worked for in Chicago got bought out by Pinnacle in Dallas, and they were like, "You're all laid off except you, Lori. We want you to come to Dallas." So Lori said, "This is a good opportunity for me," and I didn't care. I just wanted out of Chicago, so I agreed. So I land up in Dallas, and she said, "Are you sure you're okay with it?" I said, "I make friends wherever I go. I'm not worried about it," and I wasn't worried about it. Little did I know, I probably wasn't going to make friends for a long time, and then I would live to regret everything in my life. Anyways, so we moved here, and our marriage broke up. I broke it up after about 3 years. I stuck around another 7 years, and then I moved to Tucson, and I spent about 8 years there. And then when the economic collapse, I came back to Dallas for economic reasons. Now that I'm here, I have my friend Chris and Becky, and I have my friend Wayne, and his wife was a dear friend of mine. She passed away last year. I do have community. Uh, Chris and Becky appear to be liberals. I don't think Wayne's much of a liberal, or most of my uh, older colleague friends are not particularly liberal. They're not conservative per se, but I mean they're not like right wing Republicans. Trust me. And so I do have community here, and I have continuity here. Uh, but for me to have landed up here, it's just a variety. Like when Lori worked for Action Pact in Chicago, they had actually agreed that if we moved to Arizona, to Tucson at the time, they would keep her on as a consultant. She would get the same annual salary. We were going to be fine. Uh, Random in my universe was Pinnacle's decision to buy Action Pact, fire the entire company except for my wife. Come on, you don't think that's essentially a random occurrence in the universe? Of course it is. Listen, my whole legal career is just a series of random occurrences. Somebody commits a crime, because I did a lot of criminal work, but not only. How do you land up with me as your lawyer? I didn't do any advertising. I didn't do much promoting. It was all word of mouth. So you not only had to commit a crime, you essentially had to know somebody that knew me, that trusted me, that said to you, you really should call him. And then after speaking to me, despite whatever I said to you, you had to believe somehow that I could benefit you. Random, really, because there are so many lawyers in Chicago. Yikes. You don't. I mean, I once went to court. This woman asked me to appear. She told me she'd meet me there with my retainer. I showed up. 2 other lawyers she called and asked us all to meet at the same time. And then, I'm like, what are we doing? She's like, oh, I decided to hire him. Me and the other guy looking at each other like, what in the just happened? Never had that happen. And she went walking off with it, and I didn't get any money. Hi, Tammy. And hi, Rachel's brother, if you're listening. So I'm just saying this. So how can I not be in a place of acceptance if I am a random particle, and if all these events have some random element to them, then where would the arrogance that so many of us carry, where would the arrogance come from? Most people's success is in some way, shape, or form a random opportunity, a random possibility. Steve Jobs, whatever, the founder of Apple. Come on, the guy was random. The fact that he was brilliant, okay, that's genes, man. That's just, it just happens. He didn't. Steve Jobs, before he was born, didn't stand in line and tell the universe, "I'd like to be very good at this thing that's going to happen, this whole digital revolution. I want to be in the forefront." No, that he was raised in an environment where he was even had the opportunity to capitalize on his intellect. Okay, and in other words, I don't care who you pick. I don't care what their life circumstances were. You, we, us, children of God, had nothing in the main to do with who we are and how we got here. Things happened. You had no control. I say you. Let me stick with me. Maybe you did. I had no control over who my parents were, and I had no control over how they behaved. My father was mean, and yet here I am, a fairly kind person. My mother, kind of stoic, very introverted, not very expressive, not very loving, not very caring. But you know, I loved her. Random, random. My brother doesn't particularly love, I don't think, any of us, my parents or his siblings. He's just not. It's not his thing. He's not plugged into that thing we call uh, uh, affection, whether it's sibling or parental. So, so back to being a random particle. Those moments when I feel arrogant, and I don't sit there and go, oh, I feel arrogant. It's something that just it's lurking. So one day I go to a drug court, a night drug court in Illinois, in Chicago. I just told this story to a group at an AA meeting this morning. I'm there. I'm in night drug court, and you don't win many drug cases in court because a lot of it is hand-to-hand delivery to a cop, pursuant to a search warrant sometimes, by whatever, right? So I go to night court, and I win 2 trials in one night. And I'm like, whoa, I'm badass, man, because you just don't win. I won 2 within a couple of hours. You didn't have juries at night drug court. If you wanted to pick a jury, you had to get transferred to the regular daytime courts. But I had judges trying my cases, 2 different judges heard 2 different cases, and I won. So I'm coming out of the second courtroom, and my cojones are so big, I need a wheelbarrow to carry them because I'm a badass, right? And I get to the elevator, and I wish I could remember his name. Not that you would care. There was a judge, the judge from the first trial, and I just finished the second trial. I won in his courtroom earlier in the evening. Now I won another, and I'm on my way out of the building. And the judge is standing there. He's waiting for an elevator. He's in street clothes. I recognize him. And he looks at me and just kind of randomly says, "Good facts make great lawyers." Well, I knew exactly the truth of what he was saying. So my cojones, they shrunk. I didn't need the wheelbarrow anymore. Because what had happened that night was I had good facts. I just happened to have a good set of facts in both cases that worked for me. It's not like I was a brilliant barrister. I am, but that's not why I won. I won because I had good facts. Good facts really do make great lawyers. I mean, you got really crappy facts, it can be really hard to win. Your client can be innocent, doesn't matter. So, random. I got hired on those cases. I got hired on other cases that slam dunk. I wanted to do a good job. Sometimes I finished the trial, and before the jury came back with a verdict, the people I represented and their families would be just, "Oh, you're so good. Oh, we love you. Thank you. Thank you for helping us. Oh my God, you're so good," in the courtroom. And then the verdict comes back against them, and I'm a piece of crap. What did we pay you for? I'm like, I don't know. I don't know how to answer that, right? So, I had no control over any juries. I had no control over any judges. I have control over the prosecutors or the police officers or who the victim might be. Because sometimes you're dealing with an act of violence and there's a victim. I didn't pick the victim. The universe picked the victim, or my client picked the victim. So if we can grasp, or at least me, if I can grasp that I'm really nothing but a random particle in the universe, then the truth is there's no room for arrogance, because I'm not really the primary reason I achieve. I achieve frequently just because I've been handed good facts. I had many businesses. One succeeded very well, and it took a lot on my part because it started out, I got swindled, and I pulled it out of, I pulled it off, and I salvaged it. And initially, when I first finally got it, well, I wasn't even salvaged yet. I was really drowning in debt when I had DFW gun initially. And this guy knocks on the door, this old Southern gentleman from Georgia, and he says, how you doing? And he says, how'd you pay for this? Because I bought a bunch of stuff as part of this deal from a guy that had started a few minutes before me, right? A couple of months before me. And I said, well, I gave Jim, money. And he says, well, how did you pay him? So I wrote him checks. What do you mean? He says, well, Jim didn't own any of that. I beg your pardon. He said, yeah, Jim borrowed money from me some time ago, and he pledged all his assets to me in exchange for this loan, and he's never paid the loan. I have the assets. These were not his assets. These were corporate assets, and I own the corporation. And you didn't pay the corporation. You didn't pay me. I looked at this guy. I took the keys out of my pocket. I threw them on the desk, and I'm drowning in debt. I'm dying in this place. And I said, it's all yours, brother. It's all yours, because I ain't giving you a dime. And he was like, oh, calm down, calm down. So we talked a little bit. He left because he didn't want the gun range. And we visited a couple of times, and essentially he said, listen, this guy, he put up all his assets collateral, and then he tried to screw me, and I don't want the gun range, and I'm a rich guy, and that's not what I'm here for. And as long as you cooperate with me, if I ever take this guy to court and assist me in my prosecution, then I'm done with this. And I'm like, oh, hell yeah. Okay. So I could have lost that. So I got cocky. I'm like, look at all the obstacles I had. I moved that business to a different location. It became successful financially. And just when it was making me money, I sold it. And I never should have. But I did, because I'm chaotic. And it went on. It's still extremely successful business. But I kept buying businesses, and they kept being distressed, and I kept failing. So it wasn't, Ken's not as brilliant as Ken wanted to believe. I mistook some of this randomness for intellect, and, if you work hard, you could succeed. There's lots of people right now working their asses off. They're smart. They're good people. They may be your server at the restaurant. They may be an accountant. It doesn't matter what they are. They will never achieve their full potential. They may have as much intellect as Steve Jobs did or as Jeff Bezos, but their randomness hasn't brought them to the pinnacle of success financially. So I suggest that humility is it's the proper path. It's not just healthy, it's right. Humility is right. The absence of humility will typically, if you're open to it, result in humiliation, right? Everybody in AA knows that. They've all been through it. So I offer that to you tonight as I transition now to metta, or more commonly referred to as loving kindness, reflecting on it as we fade out on a Friday evening, going into the weekend. I'll be here tomorrow. One more podcast before I sign off. And then I don't know what happens when I go to Chicago, but we'll talk about that on Monday. All right. So join me. Here's Chris. Yesterday said it. Today's repeating it. No amount of skill will ever replace dumb luck. Okay. I see why that's one of his favorite sayings. Bring your hands together before your hearts. Close your eyes, bow your head. Take a deep breath. Let us conclude by reflecting on ourselves first, thinking about us, to us. May I be happy, healthy, free from harm, free from anger, anxiety, and fear. And may this practice bring me to a place of greater peace and comfort. May my mother and father, all my family members, and all my friends be happy, be healthy, be free from all harm. May they too find the path that guides them to a life of greater peace and comfort. May those persons I think have harmed me, I resent them, I harbor ill will. Well, now we send goodwill so that they, whoever these persons are, be happy, healthy, free from harm. May they live their lives, peace and joy. And then finally, may all living beings throughout the universe, humans and non-humans, be happy, be healthy, be free from all harm, living out their lives in safety, comfort, and peace. Satu, Satu, Satu. Thank you. Thank you, Kathy. You have a good night. And Rachel and Joan, Chris and Becky, and Radine, I think, was here earlier. Sean was here earlier. I don't know if anybody else checked in tonight. I didn't see Tammy. Tammy, if she's still here, a good night to her. I don't know if Mark and Anne showed up for a little while, according to my eye in the sky there. There's nobody left but you guys, which is fine. It's more than enough.